Welcome back. If you made a New Year's resolution to lose weight but need help figuring out what to cut out of your diet and what, more importantly, you probably shouldn't be, we have an expert in house this morning, Andrea Hoegner, registered dietitian, joining us with some really helpful advice. A lot of buzzwords out there, a lot of fad diets, a lot of books that everyone buys into. What are you hearing?
Absolutely. You know, there's been this wave of people taking grains out of their diet, and it's sort of like a new sort of repackaged low-carb diet that's showing up as either wheat-free or gluten-free types of fads this year.
And so there's good and bad that comes with that. What's your advice on that front?
Well, first off, you know, often the big reason people pull any kind of grain out of their diet is they think it's going to help them lose weight. And what research shows is you don't need to cut any specific food out for weight loss. When we look at long-term research, whether you took carbohydrates out, protein out, or fat out, all of them, as long as calories drop, facilitate weight loss.
We do hear something about losing that water weight, and sometimes that comes with a low-carb diet?
Absolutely. So I often say don't be fooled if you followed, let's say, either a grain-restricted or a low-carb or a gluten-free diet. In that first week or two, you may drop sort of, you know, anywhere between a couple of pounds, 5 pounds, or even a little bit more if you've just decreased the carbohydrate load of your diet. 1 gram of carbohydrate stores about 3 grams of water on your diet. So it's not true weight loss, it's simply fluid shifts on the body.
But you can see how that can be motivating.
It's very addictive, yeah. People are, it's working, but
5 pounds is significant. So who should be going the way of gluten-free and who shouldn't be?
Okay, and what I've got just as a visual here is sort of the gluten-free sort of options, and then your standard sort of foods that may contain gluten. And we know that 1 in every 133 people have celiac disease. And so people with celiac disease absolutely need to be following a gluten-free diet. So your options like quinoa, you know, your rice crackers, corn, brown rices, very important for them to follow lifelong. Now there's about 2 to 6% of us that also have what's called non-celiac gluten sensitivity, and those people may find that reducing the amount of gluten in their diet can have health effects for just better digestive health. The rest of us, we just don't need to be following a gluten-free diet. It's more of a fad that's sort of, you know, following the New Year's resolution.
Yeah, well, everyone buys the books and then everyone gets talking about it. So remind us, you know, what are the importance of a carbohydrate in our diet?
Okay, so carbohydrates in general, so important for your brain. Your brain runs exclusively on carbohydrates. In fact, your brain needs about 130 grams of carbohydrate just to actually run the central nervous system. And then we need an additional amount for physical activity. So the more active you are, the more carbohydrate that you're going to need.
Okay, so when you eliminate something like that from a diet, initial risks or long-term risks, what do you see?
So the big thing when people take grains out of their diet, we see a drop in their fiber load typically. We also see a drop in their B vitamin load. So it's really important not to be eliminating things unnecessarily from your diet. And what I've noticed, you know, in my work with people over time, if you're taking out enjoyable foods, like for me, I think I was supposed to be born Italian. If I'm taking out things like pastas or bread, my clients have shown me time and time again that you're probably going to overdo those things. You're going to cut them out and probably end up binging or eating further of foods that you really enjoyed.
They can go a long way to helping you feel full.
Absolutely, and you know, it's funny, people say, well, cutting out grains is going to help me lose weight, and you know, research is actually showing that because there's such a good fiber load, and many grains, especially whole grains, are what we consider low glycemic. They keep you full, they sustain energy longer. They actually do provide satiety and may be helpful in weight loss.
All right, we want to avoid the binging, as always. Andrea Hoegner, great advice. Thank you for joining us. And you can go for more advice, more information, healthygrains.ca, and you'll find Andrea on our website as well. Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks so much.
719 minus 11 degrees. A dreaded stomach bug making its rounds at a record pace. Alberta Health saying at least a dozen outbreaks of the norovirus.